Welcome to Bears on Tap, hosted by Quentin Q. Crisco, Sonny Verma, and the one and only Ron Luce. Bringing you all the news, analysis, and opinions on the charter franchise, Chicago Bears.
Bears on Tap is back after a few weeks, little hiatus. This time of year is tough. Not a lot of news right now, is there, Sonny?
No, not so much. It's a special time where it's like you're looking forward to football and you want football season to come, but you also understand that you need to look outside and it's like, okay, I need to also enjoy this weather as long as I can because at some point summer's already halfway over, believe it or not. You know, you never think about that because you're in the moment. So I think that's just in the little trivial phase we are in right now.
So I don't know how things are for you near sunny Chicago, but like for me out in the East Coast right now, like Philly is practically hell with the heat here. So I can believe we're halfway through the summer. It feels like the last 3 days have been a week.
Yeah. I mean, you know, last year I lived in Austin. Now I come back to Chicago for at least the last month or so. And yeah, I mean, it's tough to go outside, but I got the kids. So it's like every now and then, you know, I got to let them run around and play. And I try to enjoy the moment because especially here, you know, it's not year round weather. It's definitely not year round weather. So I got to go let them soak in that oxygen. But yeah, there's a part of me that's, while they're out there playing, I'm just scrolling on my phone, reading the latest PFF articles and Chicago Bears, you know, depth charts and rumors and, you know, itching to get the season started.
And speaking of PFF articles, maybe being a little heated, there was something in this latest PFF article titled Ceilings, Floors for Every Second-Year NFL Quarterback Ahead of the 2025 Season. And if that sounds like it's targeted, it's because it is. Sonny, who did they gave in this article? They gave a ceiling and a floor comp to every second-year quarterback. Who did they comp Caleb Williams to in this?
So again, the ceiling and floor, as you said, the floor they gave as a bust, which I think is cheating because I feel like any quarterback, of course, if you're in your second year, the floor should be a bust until you're established. The ceiling was a name that was not picked by accident, not by random choice. They picked Green Bay quarterback Jaylon Love, and I sent you this article this morning, and I had a smile on my face. I just started laughing. I started shaking my head, but I'd love to get your thoughts first.
So my first thought, as I'm looking through this article, floor bust. That's cheap. That doesn't make sense. When I go down to Drake May and see his floor is Daniel Jones. When I go to Michael Penix and see his floor is Jameis Winston. A floor can't just be bust unless you're trying to piss someone off. Like that's how is that even defined, right? Like are we is that Jamarcus Russell? His floor is to become Jamarcus Russell out here. What are we doing? Now, on the ceiling, like if you want to tell me that his ceiling is, and give me a sec if you hear me typing, his ceiling is a guy who's throwing 4,200 yards, 30-some touchdowns to 10 interceptions. I'm like, okay. Yeah, that's okay. You tell me that some guy is Jordan Love, I go, what the hell are we doing here? And so it's like, it's clear bait, right? Like that's the only place I can go with it.
I mean, Q, we're in the content game, right? Everyone is in charge of getting clicks during the off season where it's so incredibly slow. People are trying to get eyeballs. We talked about earlier, like a lot of people are out there touching grass. We need to keep their attention, on their phones when they're inside the house watching, YouTube or listening to this on their favorite audio platform. PFF has proven they're no different. They come with a certain reputation, but when it comes down to it, they know the Chicago fan base is super passionate, that, We're waiting. We're super excited about the season. Ben Johnson, Caleb Williams, year number 2. We see, I think Caleb Williams was literally on the cover of the article, and we see his, picture there. And of course, we're going to click on it. Ceiling, floor. Yeah, absolutely. Let me eat this up. And then just to pick those 2, as you so eloquently put it, bust when you don't put a bust for any of the other guys. And then the Green Bay quarterback you picked as the ceiling for who the Chicago Bears quarterback is. Man, rent needs to be paid at PFF headquarters.
Yeah, like if I want to give them the benefit of the doubt in any way, it's like Jordan Love, he can get funky with his arm angles. He has some wild arm talent, but like Caleb doesn't win the way Jordan Love wins. Like, and Jordan Love, I don't think he's that great of a quarterback, but like what Jordan Love does so well after 4 years of sitting on the bench in Green Bay to learn this and to, really learn the offense and understand how he's being coached and process the defenses live as they're going. He follows the offense very strongly, right? He does it. He plays in rhythm, on schedule more often than not. What we saw from Caleb last year was the opposite of that, right? Like he showed he could do it some, but like when he really succeeded, it was his off script stuff. So like that, I don't. So I said to give them some grace. That's the arm angle stuff, but like the actual play style is so different that it's just like I don't see where that's even coming from unless it's like you said, it's just playing the content game.
Like for me, if you said his baseline was Jordan Love, just what we saw Jordan Love last year, I'd say that's a little low. Like for me, it's like, okay, fine. But I think Caleb, this is the bias. Okay. It's the off season. I'm going to be a biased Bears fan right now. I would take Caleb Williams over Jordan Love, even from what I saw the last 2 years right now going into next year. If you told me, hey, if Caleb plays to 75 to 80% of his capabilities next season, he's Jordan Love, I'd be like, okay. I guess I'll deal with it, and then I'll deal with the ramifications of that at the end of the year. But if you're telling me that's the best he's going to do, ceiling literally means if Caleb has the best season he's capable of having, he's going to be Jordan Love. It's rage bait, like you said.
Yeah, and it's truly an artful rage bait, like truly, because when we're sitting here looking at this, you can go, what? You're telling me a quarterback who over the last 2 seasons, 57 touchdowns, 7,500 yards across 32 games, you're not happy with that? Like, yeah, we're happy with those stats, but like that's so void of the context of Jordan Love without Matt LaFleur. What is it? It's so void of that it's like, I don't think you plop Jordan Love on the Bears last year and he comes close to doing what he did with that coaching staff, right? Like, so it's, I don't know, to your point, like I expect Caleb Williams to be a better quarterback than Jordan Love, but he has a long way to ever put up a single season of stats better than what Jordan Love did, not last year, but the year before. That's a tall task. I think he's capable of it. I think he will get there eventually. It might even be this year because that season, 4,159 yards, 32 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. That's a really nice season. And Jordan Love doesn't take sacks very much. So, again, he plays within the structure. He doesn't do the big negatives aside from some wild, what the hell are you doing interceptions that he puts out there. But, like, that's usually when he's gone off script. And that's another big difference here. Jordan Love, when he goes off script, gets really topsy-turvy, I feel like. Caleb, with interceptions, Caleb gets topsy-turvy with sacks, but like he makes some insane plays that I think are probably higher than what Love does, even though Love, to give him some respect, does make some insane plays out there. But it's a brutal read. And anyone who out there wants to get a excellent read on the topic, go over to ontapsportsnet.com. Our guy Nick DeMeo wrote an outstanding response to that article. That is just, it's like chef's kiss. Exactly. You couldn't put it in better terms than he did. So go check that out on ontapsportsnet.com. Sonny, Any more thoughts on that before we get to the main event here?
No, I'd rather move on as quickly as I can and stop thinking about that.
Okay. So we are talking about some player props on the Bears, and we have our Wheel of Fortune, Wheel of Fate, Wheel of Heartbreak as Bears fans, potentially, here showing us a bunch of different player props. We'll start with you, Sonny. We're going to spin it, and then you're going to tell us over, under, and why on these props.
Let's do it.
Without further ado, let's get after it. First up is Montez Sweat. Over under 8.5 sacks.
You know, I saw this wheel obviously right before we started recording. And to me, this one was kind of the easiest answer. And I hate saying that because I think I'm on the under. I just, I'm at the point now where I'm a little more, I'm not as optimistic as I used to be about where he's at in his career. If he hits the over on this particular stat, I think the Bears are in fantastic shape next year. That's kind of what we've been waiting for. But at 8.5, I'm just going to go, I think the under just because of the recent trajectory of his career.
That's fair. And I mean, like his entire career, you could make that argument. And this wasn't necessarily a Vegas line. This was I couldn't find Vegas lines on some of these. So I just went with ones based on like career averages and what felt like it would make it a tough decision for me. He's only exceeded this number 2 out of 6 years in his career, but he's exceeded 8. He's hit 8 3 out of 6 years in his career. And he's hit 7 4 out of 6 years in his career. So like he's always typically right around that range. I think last year was a down year for him. And now you got a more talented defensive tackle room next to him, I think. I'm hesitant to go the over 8.5, but if there's one guy out there who I think is going to reach that double digit, it is him. So that's what makes it tough. I think they're going to be more of a committee though. So I'd have a hard time going over when I think 8 feels about right. But at the same time, I'm like, if 8 feels right, you're telling me I have that, like he can go way over that too. Like, so I mean, it's a tough one for me, but I'm with you, probably going under.
Yeah, and again, I wish I was more, gung ho. But as you said, when I looked at his stats over the last couple of years, he can still be effective without the sacks. It's just nice to have the sacks, and I just feel like, after watching last year, hopefully it was just a down year, and it very well could be with the people that we had in charge. But if he rebounds and we get to 9 or double-digit sacks this year, I am really excited about what this Bears defense is going to look like.
Yeah, and one interesting consideration here, you look at the Bears defensive end depth chart, it feels like he's going to be playing a lot of snaps. Like, I don't think we want Dom Rob out there too much. So, but we'll move on here. Get him off of the screen, and we'll go on to the next one here where I am picking. Let's see what we got coming in on Rome Odunze, 775.5 receiving yards. Now, I saw some lines having him at like 750, I think, or no, it was 775. I saw one having him at like 825. Last season, he exceeded 800. So, like, if he doesn't hit the over here, it means he's getting less yards than he did as a rookie. To be honest, I wanted to push this higher, but I was like, if you can get 775, it's what I'm going to put on the graphic, what I'm going to put in here. And let's see, what did he have last year? Oh no, he had 734. Okay, yeah, so he didn't quite hit it. I thought he hit 800, but still, I feel like Rome might be one of the bigger beneficiaries of the new offense and of Keenan Allen being gone now. I wouldn't be shocked if Rome becomes your most targeted receiver this year, over DJ, over Burden, over the tight ends. Like, I think Rome, there's a very real chance he will be your number one because he's the most talented guy. So to me, this is over. Like, I think that's an easy one.
Yeah, we're going to have to do a post-episode edit of the last minute and a half because when we do our bold predictions for this upcoming season, that's where I was leaning towards. I think Rome has kind of been forgotten about almost, just because we have DJ Moore and the Bears fan base is so incredibly excited of bringing in, Burden, and the more that we learn about him. But I see a big year for Rome, and just like you, I think that by the end of the year, we're going to, have questions of, hey, who is our number one wide receiver now? But in a good way, just because we have multiple guys that it could be. And I'm right with you. Rome, I think he hits 1,000 yards this year.
All right, let's see what we got up next here. Now we are talking. The sacks just love you, Sonny. Jaylon Dexter, 5.5 sacks. What do you think?
I went under on Sweat because of trajectory and where they were in their career. I'm going to go the opposite, or I'm going to follow the path, but go the opposite with Dexter. I think he's going to come into his own a little bit more this year. I think the defense, Dennis Allen's going to find a way to maximize the player that Dexter is. I don't know if he's going to go a lot over 5.5, but I do think that, as you mentioned, if anyone's going to hit double-figure sacks, it's going to be Sweat. So if I don't think it's going to be Sweat, then I'm hoping at least the sacks are going to be balanced out a little bit more when it comes to the defensive line. So for this, I'm going to go over.
Yeah, I'm with you here. I think that in Dennis Allen's defense, the defensive tackles tend to play a lot of different roles. Like, the more versatile you are, the better. They might kick out to a 5-tech end and then inside to a 3-tech, to a 1-tech. They're going to be all over the place, and they're going to be stunting like crazy. And to me, that fits Jaylon Dexter's skill set really well. On top of the fact that Dennis Allen just wants maniacs out there at defensive tackle, and that's what Dexter plays like. He hair lit on fire, one of the hardest workers on the field. Like, I think he's gonna eat in this defense, playing a very versatile role. And I think Dennis Allen is going to make sure of that. Like, I think they brought in Grady Jarrett to be the steady guy at 3-tech. So Jaylon Dexter could be the wild card all over the defensive line. And he just really fits a lot of what we've seen work in New Orleans for Dennis Allen in the past.
A quick question for you. Between the two guys that we just mentioned, who do you think is more important to have a successful year? Or let's say, who's more coordinated? If this guy has a successful year, you're more confident the Bears defense is going to be successful. Between Sweat and Dexter.
Sweat.
Yeah.
Just because they don't have other, you could lose Dexter for the season. You've got Shamar Turner. You've got Grady Jarrett. You've got Andrew Billings. You lose Sweat, you just have Deo. And Deo can kick inside too. So Deo's more of is almost a pseudo defensive tackle at 285 pounds. Sweat is your one edge rusher you can rely on to be an edge rusher. So you're leaning on, there's a lot of weight on him this year.
Yeah, I completely agree.
All right, let's move on to the next one here. See who we get. That's all the sacks off the board, so. All right, Caleb Williams. I believe his touchdowns. Yep, 22.5 touchdown passes. Going over. He threw 20 last year. He's going to get better. I do think there's a chance he might lose some red zone touches, just because Ben Johnson, I don't think, is a big fan of putting the ball in harm's way in the red zone if he doesn't have to. Might lose one or two to trick plays based on what we've seen from Ben Johnson. But I do think Caleb's going to hit 25 plus this year, just because he threw 20 as a rookie last year in a broken offense that has to improve.
Right with you again. For me, it's one of those where I think Caleb was sometimes too scared to make the throw that we all think he's capable of making. And so this year, Ben Johnson's going to push him. Hey, just trust your skill, trust your vision. And he's going to, force throws that, he may have more interceptions, which we may discuss a little bit later this season. But with that aggressiveness, I think he's going to be able to land more long air touchdowns as well.
Yeah, as long as you're improving throw the interceptions, I don't care. I don't want a guy avoiding the throws. But let's see who you get this time. And we're looking at DJ Moore. 975.5 receiving yards. Sonny?
See, this is a really good number. I'm actually going to go over 2 because this is another one I was kind of contemplating back and forth. I think that the Chicago Bears are capable of having 2 1,000-yard receivers. I think by the end of the year, Rome becomes our number 1 wide receiver, but I still think that DJ Moore and his skill set is going to be utilized by Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson knows how to use talent in front of him. I think a lot of the usage that us fans are projecting Burden to have, I think Johnson's still going to trust more with Moore. And so for me, I think Odunze and Moore are going to be 1,000-yard wide receivers, whereas a Burden may not quite reach the numbers that he might be projected to get.
I'm going with the under.
Boo.
I think that you're talking 750 to 900 yards from DJ
Really?
as a receiver.
Okay.
But I think that he's going to have his most rushing yards of his career. I think we're talking 250 on the ground. Like I think he's going to play a lot more of a Deebo Samuel type role where he's kind of a movable chess piece where he can take handoffs. He can take like backfield handoffs. He can take jet sweeps in motion. He can where he's just kind of always doing something. He might have his most yards from scrimmage in his career, or maybe not in his career because he had almost 1,400 the year with Justin Fields. But like I could see him putting up 1,200 yards from scrimmage, but not hitting this number on yards.
So you think he'd get more touches this year, not necessarily yardage?
Yeah. I mean, hell, he only had. Or wait, no. Okay. He did have a ton of targets last year. For some reason, I thought his targets were down last year. His efficiency was just way down. But yeah, no, I think he gets plenty of, like, probably about the same amount of touches, but on less targets.
That'll be interesting.
It's
I guess it's going to depend on how we use the tight ends, the running back system.
The more 2 tight ends I think you play, the more dangerous he gets as a ball carrier too. Like I think
you're exactly right.
See a fair amount of that with what the running back room looks like.
Mm-hmm.
But let's keep this going on to the next pick here. Let's see who we got. I think it's going to be Cole Kmet, 549.5 receiving yards.
This one's tricky.
I had such a hard time setting this number because I couldn't actually find one for him.
I think I'm going to go. Man. I think I'm going to go under. No, I'm going to go over. I think this is probably going to be the last good year for Kmet in a Chicago Bears uniform. I'll give my thoughts on Loveland. I see him on the wheel a little bit later, but I think Kmet, at least this year, in particular at the start of the year, is going to be tight end 1 and get more of the opportunities that a tight end 1 is going to get. And just because I trust the offense so much, I trust Ben Johnson so much and what they're going to call, I think that he's going to utilize that tight end spot. And because I see Kmet as being the guy there on weeks 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think I'm going to go with the over on 549.5.
Yeah, I memean, through the first 12 games of the year last year, he was at 450 yards, and then he only got 5 targets the rest of the year, the final 5 games. I'm with you. I'm over on this. I'm not significantly over. Like I'm thinking somewhere around 600. Which kind of matches like 719 in 2023 was his best, but like year before that he had 544, year before that he had 612. This range is about where he's lived. But those first few years, it was also a lot more 2 tight end stuff where we saw him eat when they still had Jimmy Graham in there. We're still trying to make that work. So I'm with you. I'm going over, not by a ton. If Colston Loveland didn't miss all a rookie minicamp recovering from injury, I might see this a little differently, but I do think there's going to be a bit more of a early season curve there because of that. All right, now let's get to this next one here. It's dwindling. We're running out of guys here. All right. This one is much more luck-based. Yeah. Jaylon Johnson, 2.5 interceptions, and I'm gonna take the over here. I think. I mean, he hasn't done it a ton in his career, but if the Bears secondary plays a tighter scheme, and if Tyreek Stevenson cleans up some of his play, keep Jaquan Brisker healthy, I think you're going to have more reasons to have to throw to Jalen's side. And I think he's going to do well in or actually, I don't know. Now that I'm talking it out, much more man-heavy scheme. He was in a scheme that kept his eyes. The last 2 years, he was in a scheme that kept his eyes to the quarterback to be a ball hawk. All right, I'm changing my answer. I'm going under.
Yeah.
Because I think when we saw him in a more man-heavy scheme like we did in the years prior to Eberflus, he wasn't getting the interceptions because he's focused on the receiver, focused on the man, not looking for the football. I think that he might have the best year of his career from a pure corner standpoint because his all-pro year, he had the interceptions and his numbers were great. I don't think his play was as impressive as it has been at other times in his career, just because those other times it was like he was truly press man corner, locking guys down for games. He didn't keep it up across a full season the same way until that all-pro year. But like, I thought there were games that he had earlier in his career that was like, this guy's something.
Yeah, I'm on the under on this one, but not like in any sort of negative way toward Jaylon. Similar to what you're talking about, the style of defense that we're about to play, but also I think he just loves when people talk about nobody throwing his way. And I think he thrives on that. And it's one of those situations where, of course, every defensive back, cornerback wants interceptions, but he likes the idea of having Jaylon Island. And so for me, I think at least for another year or two, Jalen's still going to be, one of the top cornerbacks in the NFL, under 2.5, but for good reasons. It's because other offenses still continue to not want to throw to him.
I think he also loves the one-on-one battle of man coverage. I think he really enjoys that. And I think that does play a little bit into the lack of interceptions earlier in his career because he's just so locked in on the 1v1 battle that he's not focused on getting the football as much as just stopping the man across from him, which I'm okay with. Mm-hmm. Now let's move it along here. See who we got next. This is gonna be DeAndre Swift. 850 rushing yards. You can put a half on there if you want. 850 is a half.
Well, decide, because I was right at 108, 850. No. This is tough. I think I'm going to go under, but I'm not that confident on it. I know a lot of people are down on Swift, and I understand why, but I think Ben Johnson's going to make it work. I genuinely do. I think that they tried to find another running back. We've discussed this. I don't think Roshan is obviously an RB1 in any sort of aspect. I like Manungai, but he's got his ceiling is limited. I think with the offense, again, or more in particular, with the offensive line that we signed this offseason, Ben's going to do a great job of balancing things out. And if I'm going to sit here on the show and tell you that the Chicago Bears are going to have 2 1,000-yard wide receivers, I think that happens because there is a threat at the running back position as well. Like, the defense has to plan for both. And for that, I'd be hard-pressed not to say that the starting running back on the Chicago Bears doesn't hit 850 yards at least. So I'm going to go over.
This is the hardest one on here for me because I look at his 1 year in Detroit, right? He had 542 rushing yards. But he added 400 receiving yards. So, it's not like he wasn't used. He had almost 1,000 yards from scrimmage. But, I don't know that he's going to hit this rushing. But then I'm sitting here going, well, then who's getting those rushing? You need to run the football, So I think I have to go over here because someone needs to get the football. And I'm not sold it's going to be that much of Roshan Johnson or Kyle Manungai at this point.
I mean, Q, I would say that he has to hit the over here if the Chicago Bears are going to be a solid playoff team. We can't do that with the amount that we invested in that offensive line, with the wide receivers that we had. If we have, I think was it PFF or somebody, I think a week ago, rated us the 30th best running back room in the entire NFL.
Probably. I buy it.
Yeah, but if they play to that level, then we're just making Caleb's life a lot more complicated. And so that's why I think, we've got the perfect head coach in charge. He's imaginative. And I know you and I are very optimistic on what the season's going to look like for the Chicago Bears next year and the leaps that some of these players are going to make in order for them to, hit 10, 11 wins. I think Swift has to hit the over here because I cannot envision a scenario where Roshan or Monangai are the one to do it.
Yeah, and so I think this is all under the assumption that there is not a guy added late, right? Like Ryan Poles trades a 4th-round pick for a guy, or a guy gets picked up off the cuts pile because a team cut a guy who was getting up there in age but is still productive, that type of thing. If Swift is if the running back room as it is right now is your running back room, I'm with you. Swift has to go over this. Mm-hmm. All right, only 4 left here. And we got Kyler Gordon, 2.5 interceptions. And I'm going over on this. They just paid the dude. He was probably working his tail off to get that contract. And typically, I feel like when right after a guy gets paid, when he gets paid early like this, like before he's actually hit the market, he has the best year of his career because he was preparing for a contract year. He was preparing to really maximize his value. And that doesn't go away just because you got paid. You still put that work in. So I'm going over. I think he's going to have a hell of a year and probably stay healthy because his health might be one of the only things that kept him from this number in the past.
I like it for a lot of the reasons you said. I think, just because he signed that contract, there's going to be a lot of people now wondering, hey, like he's going to have to feel like he's making people realize he's worth that contract. I wouldn't be surprised, just like you said, if he has his best year in the NFL this season, just because he's preparing for this particular moment. And there is that added pressure now that, hey, you got paid. You're one of the higher paid defensive backs in the entire NFL now. And so time to act like it, time to show them that, they made the right choice. They made the right investment into Kyler.
And from the same standpoint, I think he's going to be a Swiss Army knife on the defense. He's going to be a movable piece all over the defense because Dennis Allen hinted at him learning some more safety. So he can play nickel or safety on either side of the formation. And so you have him and Brisker as both either kind of box safeties, both kind of nickel. Like they can mix and match stuff there. I don't know how much Brisker can play nickel, but I think we're going to find out this year one way or the other. But so that's another thing I think is going to benefit him, being able to come downhill against short pass concepts and just say that football's mine. All right, next one up here for you, Sonny. We have Caleb Williams, 3,500, I think. 3,500.5 passing yards.
I love that you just add a half.
This one was a real number. This one was from a book somewhere.
I'm going over. And again, this might just me being biased or whatnot, but with that offensive line that we have, those guys still in somewhat the primes of their career, with the projections I've just already told you of what I see DJ Moore and Rome Odunze having, Colston Loveland. We got 2 tight ends now, at least by a couple weeks into the season, I think we're gonna have 2 solid tight ends. And the most important factor in all of this, of course, is the head coach. It's Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson wanted this job because I think Ben Johnson wanted to coach Caleb Williams. And despite what other media outlets might tell you, Caleb Williams is one of the top prospects in all of the NFL. And I think I want to say he's going to hit the magical 4,000 mark this year, but I'm not going to say that today, but I will say solidly that he finishes at least with 3,501 yards.
Jared Goff under Ben Johnson, first year went for 4,400 yards. Second year, almost 4,600. Third year, he did hit 4,600. Caleb Williams beat this number as a rookie. He had like 3,520 last year. So 3,500. This should be an easy win if you're into betting full season props. Like this is the hammer it moment. Like this is the only reason this doesn't hit in my mind is injury.
Yeah, I mean that's why I'm surprised you said it was from a book.
Yeah, so it was. I forget which book, but it was out there. It was out there in the ether of like this is. I think it was like minus 140 or something. So it wasn't great odds, but like it was their even money number.
Yeah. Interesting.
Now, battle of the rookies here. Got Luther Burden and Colston Loveland left, and we're getting Colston Loveland for me here, and we are talking 675.5 receiving yards. Bears fans are excited. Vegas knows it. Give me the under. That's just a big old number for a rookie who's missed mini camp and like is going to be, I don't know, maybe he's full speed at the start of training camp, but I just, it's a big number for when you have an established starter ahead of him too. I think Loveland's going to have a good rookie year. I just don't think he's going to have a great, like a 700 yard rookie year.
Yeah, I'm with you. I kind of alluded to that when I was talking about Cole Kmet. If we didn't have Cole Kmet there and Colston Loveland was going to, by week 3, week 4, be the clear starter, move and focus at the tight end position, maybe I'd change my mind. But there's a lot of buzz about Loveland right now. And, Bears fans, of course, are excited somewhat because, some Bears fans wanted Tyler Warren, and at the tight end spot, it was kind of a surprise as it is. That the Bears took Loveland. So I think right now it's the under, but I also want to be clear that even if it is the under, that doesn't mean I've lost any sort of enthusiasm for what Loveland can be in the Chicago Bears offense down the road.
I think there's some Sam Laporta hysteria about him too, of like Laporta put up over 1,000 yards as a rookie with Ben Johnson. Like, I just don't know if he's going to be playing that full-time role like Laporta was. Because Laporta was, like, Hawkinson was gone when they got Laporta. Laporta was the guy in that room. So,
Good point.
I'm with you. I'm still super high on him, but I'm not buying that number. Now, last one. What do you think it'll be? We got like a CD disc spin in here. Luther Burden the third. And the number is 625.5 receiving yards.
Yeah, I'm going under on this one, just because I think Rome is going to have the breakout year that he's going to have. I think Burden's going to be used in a lot of the ways you discussed. DJ Moore was going to be used this year. I think Burden's going to get a lot of touches. In fact, I'd probably, if this was X number touches, I'd probably go over. But, he's also missed rookie camp. And so for me, it's one of those where because we have 2 established guys ahead of him and Bears fans are super excited about this guy. And so kind of the same way we're discussing Loveland, I think that the number might be a little inflated, at least the way I'm projecting this season to go out to be. So I'm going to take the under here.
This is one of the toughest ones for me.
Yeah.
Because I agree with you. I think he's going to be used very similar to what I said about DJ Moore. I think that's what's going to make their offense different and hard to defend is that they have 2 guys who can play that way, who are just very dangerous with the ball in their hands and can actually be legit handoff weapons while also being legit route running weapons.
I mean, Q, just while you're thinking of this, like more food for thought for you, it's like, we just talked about how important the run game is with DeAndre Swift earlier, and that if the run game doesn't work, well, then they're going to have to, we're in trouble. This could be one of those crazy experiments that Ben Johnson has. If Swift isn't the player that we're kind of hoping he somehow ends up being, then it might be a lot more trickery that involves Burden, that involves DJ Moore from that backfield.
So do you know what 2 personnel is?
Sure.
0 running back, 2 tight end. I think we're going to see some of that, and we're going to see some handoffs from it. Like, because as a D coordinator, how do you defend that? Like, because you're just like, I know they could. I mean, essentially, I guess at the end of the day, you defend it like 12 if you think about one of these running backs or one of these wide receivers as a running back. But like, you defend it like 12, they can still hit you with the pass when they got Colston Loveland who can move for a tight end, and they have legit route runners all out there, or they can actually hand it off and have good run blocking because they're in 12 personnel. Like that's just a real head scratcher for a defensive coordinator that I think we're going to see. I'm going over on this.
Love it.
And it's not going to be consistent. I think it's going to be very topsy-turvy. A game where he has 175 yards, a game where he has 5 yards. But I think that he's going to be their biggest mismatch weapon on the field, on the football field, of like, how are we defending this guy? And yeah, I think they're going to create some explosives for him with him.
Oh yeah. I'm
stressed saying that though, because like I'm like, I don't know where it's coming from.
Yeah, I mean, he's such a wild card onto this next year. You know, it's just because a lot of Bear fans, you know, I don't think anyone was projecting us to draft him, and so
we didn't even have a draft profile made for him.
Right, that's like 500 players. It's just one of those where he kind of just fell into our laps. But since he's fallen into our laps, and we've been listening, reading up on scouting reports, this and that, we're like, oh, this could absolutely be like one of Ben Johnson's crown jewel toys that he has to play with. Like I can only imagine what was going on in his head, you know, and Ryan Pohl's head when Luther Burden just kept falling, and you know, the fact that they were aggressive and decided to go with him, I think they're really excited about what they can do with him.
Yeah, I think when I said topsy-turvy, was coming to my head, and I was like, Alshon Jeffrey's second year. It was like there was a game where he put up like 250 yards in the Vikings, and like just he had a few games that were just like outrageous, and the rest of the production was just kind of like not that great. And that's kind of what I think we're going to see from Burden as a pass catcher. I think we will see some more from him as a runner, but like as a pass catcher, I just think it's going to be that up and down roller coaster. But like I think his total numbers will come in strong.
You got to sign that deal too.
Yeah. They all the second rounders do. None of them signed yet. But Sonny, I think that wraps it for us. We were aiming for 45 minutes. We're coming in just below it, so I think we crushed it. Any final thoughts before we close this one out and we go back to our football-less lives of living in June and July?
No, not so much. You know, again, just because we are in the off season, that doesn't mean that, you know, you can't make one stop at least daily at On Tap Sports. These guys, these writers are just doing a fantastic job of keeping you guys in the loop with Chicago Bears coverage all day, every day. And again, we don't have the silliness of rage baiting that some of the other media outlets out there doing.
We really try.
Yeah, no, you guys do a fantastic job. So yeah, no, I'm trying to enjoy the moment. But, man, I cannot wait for Bear season to start.
Yeah, just get me to football season. Sonny, why don't we get out of here the only way we know how, with a good old bear down.
Bear down, Q.
Bear down.